Lewis had also skipped the inauguration of President George W. Bush, claiming Bush, too, was an illegitimate president. A few members of Congress joined him in 2001. By 2017, 1 out of 3 Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives boycotted Trump's inauguration. Many said they refused to take part in the installation of an illegitimate president. The corporate media didn't condemn leading Democrats' refusal to accept the results of the 2016 election. In fact, the media amplified the most speculative claims of how Trump and Russia had colluded to steal the election from Clinton. They dutifully regurgitated inaccurate leaks from corrupt intelligence officials, suggesting Trump and his staff had committed treason. They ran stories arguing that Republicans who didn't support their conspiracy theory were insufficiently loyal to the country or somehow compromised themselves. It was all nonsense. Even Robert Mueller, who ran a multi-year and multi-million-dollar government investigation into claims that Trump personally colluded with Russian President Vladimir Putin to steal the election from Clinton, found no evidence to support the fevered accusations. The reporters who pushed this conspiracy theory were never held accountable by their peers for peddling leaks and lies. They received raises and promotions, honors and awards, and the applause of their colleagues. Some were given Pulitzer Prizes for reporting that was closer to fan fiction than an accurate description of events. From 2016 through 2020, the easiest way to achieve stardom on the political left was to loudly proclaim one's belief that the 2016 election was illegitimate, stolen by the Russians on behalf of a corrupt traitor. Conspiracy mongering, up to and including the assertion that the President of the United States was a secret Russian spy, was the highest form of patriotism. And then 2020 happened. At the drop of a hat, Americans' electoral system went from irredeemably corrupt and broken in 2016 to unquestionably safe in 2020. Voting methods that were allegedly used to steal elections in 2004 and 2016 suddenly became sacrosanct and unquestionable in 2020. Whereas so-called election experts repeatedly warned pre-2020 about the pitfalls of electronic voting and widespread mail-in balloting, by November 2020, any discussion about the vulnerabilities of those methods was written off as the stuff of right-wing cranks and conspiracy mongers. Such dismissals required ignoring quite real problems with election integrity affecting hundreds of U.S. elections at the state and local levels, and even the 1960 presidential election, when John F. Kennedy won just 118,574 more votes than Richard Nixon. That Electoral College win hinged on victories in Illinois, where Chicago vote totals were suspiciously high for Kennedy, and Texas, a state where Kennedy's running mate, Lyndon B. Johnson, had been known to exert control over election results. Official biographers and historians have claimed one or both states would have been won by Nixon in a fair election. If concerns about election integrity were valid from at least 1960 through 2016, then surely those concerns were even more valid in 2020, an election year unlike any other in American history. In the lead-up to the election, thanks in part to the coronavirus pandemic that gripped the world, wide-ranging electoral reforms were implemented. Across the country, at the state, local, and federal levels, political actors rammed through hundreds of structural changes to the manner and oversight of elections, resulting in what Time magazine would later call a revolution in how people vote. Some of these changes were enacted by state legislatures, some by courts, and others by state and county election officials. Many changes, allegedly justified by the global pandemic, were broad reforms that Democrats had long desired. The crisis was their chance to sneak in contentious policies through the back door. The bedrock of the American Republic is that elections must be free,